This is the follow-up to the remote viewing video. I may have tried it before, but I haven't really heard of remote viewing until Danielle picked up a copy of this book, Remote Viewing Secrets by Joseph McMoneagle, which came out around May 2000. I did not know at that time Montauk was rumored to conduct remote viewing experiments in the mid-70s. Of course, I decided to search if anybody had done any remote viewing experiments because I was curious to see more into the Montauk base. So I went to Google, and this is in the early 2002, so the internet was relatively new, so to say. At the time, I did find one webpage or blog. I think it was Angel Fire, which is no longer up anymore. But there was one person who attempted to remote view Camp Hero back then. And basically what they described was a bunch of chaotic, random fires just sporadically breaking out all over the place. And that was all they really said. So chaos, randomness, sporadic fires breaking out. Which didn't mean much until I found out later when researching the history that in 1966 there was actually a competition between local East End fire departments, and they would randomly light fires, and each department would have to find the fires and put them out. Whoever put out the most fires at the end was the local department that won the contest, and I don't know what they actually won. And this was in 1966, so this person actually got this right, and they probably never knew that, I'm sure, to this day. So that got me thinking right away. Later, the CIA would release and declassify tons of documents. In there was the CIA's work with remote viewing, and I was very happy to see this one. Yes, the CIA did remote view Mars 1 million years ago. On top of that, the guys from Stanford Research Institute, SRI, were becoming internationally known because of the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. Naturally, the next thought was to remote view Montauk ourselves. It turns out DarkHour Paranormal had the same idea. Having remote viewed it from afar, he wanted to actually visit that spot for the first time. He was trying to find out more about his own personal involvement, and in the process had a pretty interesting remote viewing account. Now in this time, Infinite Reality has sent me multiple remote viewing drawings of different locations that they chose. Some of them matched up really well with details that I'm familiar with at Camp Hero, and others matched up almost perfectly. With all this in mind, we're excited to get started, so let's open up the first envelope, number 3. Now this first envelope, I purposely chose this envelope close to the spot, and I didn't want to give too much away in the process. This is the location of the planetary crosspoint and DarkHour Paranormal's first remote viewing session. So to give some context, this is DarkHour Paranormal's reflection on his first remote viewing while visiting the actual spot for the first time.
Immediately it feels like I'm being pulled down. Not physically, I feel like my energy, my core essence is being pulled straight down. Now one of the things that I have said on my show and other shows, I shared an experience wherein I decided to try to remote view this spot, and when I did, I was able to get myself under the ground, and I kept going deeper and deeper, and at one point I looked down, and in my focus came this laboratory type setting. There were 3 or 4 different people there. There was at least one woman and I think 2 men in lab coats, as odd as it sounds and as cliche as it sounds. Now, it wasn't enough that in this spot, wow, I'm starting to feel really weird right now. It wasn't enough that I saw them. They happened to look up all in tandem at me. And when I I saw their eyes looking back at mine, or from where I was, in this particular vision. I panicked because I felt like I connected. They saw me, and I went right back up into this spot and right back into, my normal consciousness. So this was definitely used many times. And if it wasn't used directly by somebody being here, they were tapping the energy of this particular location, right where I'm sitting right now. Absolutely unreal.
What I was trying to determine is if there is or is not an underground fallout shelter in this area, built in 1961. I have my reasons for following this theory. Some is a hunch, some is based on the current events of the world at the time, some is based on evidence we found in the very tunnels at Montauk, and some is based on speculative connections. It just so happens this is a spot very close to a remote viewing target that Infinite Reality has been focused on, having to do with a housing area just north of the target. Infinite Reality had no clue that I chose a target so close to this area. Here is their take on Envelope 3. Interesting. We see water, trench below, and abysmal plain. Then we see underwater, underground, and failsafe, 2 keys. Then bridge, which is very interesting because there happens to be a bridge in that exact location. The bridge connects the neighborhood to Camp Hero. Failsafe reminds me of a fallout shelter. I mean, it's like a failsafe to, a certain situation. But moving on to the second submission, who wishes to remain anonymous. This amazingly also shows a bridge, almost like a bridge between 2 cities, which it kind of is. Not sure if depth below ground translates, but this could be a combination of topside and what's below. An example, a bridge over water on the surface, and a mini city below. The next session was submitted by a family member of George A. We want to thank you both for taking the time to help us with this. This is very interesting. Here we have negative and positive energy, which kind of reminds me of a planetary crosspoint. Or it could be something even more complex that we're not even thinking of. Okay, then we have greens and blues, which to me represents the land and the water. That's the bridge over water, possibly. And another amazing detail is close to sea level. Not only did I have the exact word sea level in the card itself, which wasn't on all the cards, but the correct placement of this target is down close to sea level. The next 4, in my opinion, go together. Animals, dread, burning smell, and fur on the floor. It makes me think instantly of DarkHour Paranormal's remote view of what seemed to be a laboratory down there. I've never heard of animals being used at Camp Hero. However, there is something in the history that I am still looking for, but read once. We've only begun to dig into this area. Thanks to everyone's help with this, we now have a new perspective, new ideas, and a good start viewing remotely. Moving on to the next target, envelope number 10. We have 3 participants for this envelope, so we will jump right into it. This is the location of the shack that Junior, the legendary beast that destroyed the base and ended the topside phase of the Montauk Project, supposedly destroyed, and is seen in the book The Montauk Project Experiments in Time by Preston Nichols and Peter Moon. Here is a picture of this structure, straight from the book. From what we can tell, the structure was standing until the early 80s. as described. I've actually walked past the structure myself and seen the pile of rubble and wood. Now you could never tell that it was there, and the spot's overgrown. First session by Anonymous. This is amazing. Right off the bat, I realized the man in the hat was 100% accurate. Let me explain why. This area was used for RCAT, which stands for Radio-Controlled Aerial Targeting. They would launch some of the very first drone planes, and as they flew down the shoreline, blow them out of the sky. The reason this is amazing is because in every RCAT photo, they are wearing this exact hat. So I'm going to show you like 4 photos, and I knew it looked familiar, so I went back and checked, and I started zooming in on the hat, and I mean, it's identical. So the man in this picture is looking up towards the sky. So he's launching the planes and watching them go. That's why you see a rocket there. This rocket could also represent the rockets that they were firing at the planes, because they were using, you can see here, 3.5-inch rockets, which are bazookas. And they were taking shots at the planes with those too. So that could represent either one. Looking at some of the other details, we have stairs and clouds. I'm thinking stairs to clouds, which sure looks like an observation tower of sorts. One of the objectives of this is to try to find out what kind of building this was before Junior laid waste to it. So these observation towers could have been for a number of reasons, to launch the planes, to watch them, track them as they got shot down, there's another thing here that says dark light. So another clue that's, it may be an indication of a searchlight tower in that area. So I'm looking for the location of the searchlight towers. I mean, I have an idea, but I don't know exactly where everything was. So it's possible they had a searchlight battalion in that area. It's possible that this is a tower used for that, or it could be used for both. It could have been an observation tower and a searchlight tower, and this is telling me exactly what it was. I mean, this is very interesting either way. Session number 2, a family member of George A. Again, matching and corroborating some of these details. It amazes me at some of the similarities. This detail, weapons, sure explains what this area was used for in a nutshell. I mean, they launched these planes and then they targeted them and shot them down with a number of like high-powered weapons. So I mean, that could also include metals, gas, and cold. Now about this area, before I get into the last detail, this is a part of Old Montauk Highway that people used to use to walk into the base the long way, the very long way. And there's a spot in the road that's always flooded. So there's this puddle that everybody talks about because it's forever flooded. And there's a feeling in this area when you walk past the circular road and you're between that structure that Junior wrecked, the one we're looking at here, and the flooded part of the road. There's this dead zone that everybody talks about. It's a void, they call it. They actually call it the void. So when you walk through here, it feels completely empty, devoid of life, just a stillness. How do I explain it? Some people do explain it as a depressive feeling or something draining them, but others just say it's just a place they want to get out of in a hurry, and it's kind of like a dead zone. So when I saw stagnant energy, I think that's surprisingly accurate and spot on to all of the things that I read on the early internet once again, and some of the pretty famous writings that aren't exactly books, but things that are out there by, let's say, John Quinn, Newshawk, or Stealth Skater, Michelle Gearin, some of these older accounts, and maybe KB Wells, if I'm not mixing them all up. I think everybody, including Peter Moon and Preston Nichols, spoke about this area of the road. Countless explorers, and myself included. You can definitely feel it when you walk past there. So, I mean, that to me, stagnant energy is 100% on that one. So let me know what you guys think, but so far these are really impressive, especially for people who have never done them before. Session 3, submitted by Chris and Ola. First, I highly recommend subscribing to their channel. It's a fun channel that is addicting to watch. We appreciate you guys for submitting one of these remote viewings. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this submission is by Ola, who also gave us some text to accompany the drawing. So this surprises me. This is almost a real life description of that bridge location from envelope number 3 again. I don't recall if the two sides were different, as described in the text. These drainage channels are seen across Camp Hero and is described to a T in this description. I think one even runs under the bridge in question. If this were a session for envelope number 3, it would be scary accurate, like perfect. And I still think it is. I think maybe somehow it got mixed up in the mind, but it's still accurate. It's just for the wrong envelope. But that's just my opinion. I still think it's interesting because many people seem to be drawn to this spot. Number 1. My favorite bunker, Battery 216, and the site of many very deep mysteries. The mystery of the giant hole in the floor that has perplexed me my entire life. This is the only evidence I have ever seen of a very deep underground, and other strange occurrences. We will elaborate more on this later, but we are still gathering info on this location. Session number 1 by Anonymous. Here we see beach, woods, rocks, and lake. This is very interesting because we're looking inside of a bunker, but the bunker has a giant hole in the floor that goes down about 4 stories and is filled with water. It's flooded. So when I look at this, I almost think that lake is kind of like the bottom of the bunker, and all those pieces of rock are what's caved in. But that's just, one way to look at it. This also could be something that was there way before, ancient. Then in the background, it looks like the shape of whatever these are in the background here look like hoodoos, which you see on the beach down at the bottom of the bluffs in front of this structure. Their exact shape here, these conical, upside down, kind of like reverse stalactites, but on the beach, made of clay type material. So this is very interesting, and it's not until we look at the next submission by a family member of George A. And we see here that they have trees, cliff, water, beautiful energy, and glass. And just to look at the two next to each other, they both have woods and trees, could be the same thing. Beach and lake could be the same as water. And we have rocks and cliff, which are kind of similar. So these are interesting as far as when you look at you look at both of them together, there are some similarities here. Another thing is, when I see beautiful energy, this is actually an area right in front of the wedding spot. So Camp Hero has weddings, and right in front of this target on the bluff itself, people will gather in the wedding parties and take wedding photos. It is a beautiful energy regardless. Down on the beach below is very close to Turtle Cove, which is considered one of a very place of high energy. I've heard that it's on major ley lines, so on and so forth. Glass, I am not sure what to make of glass. Maybe it's broken glass, remnants. I don't remember seeing any glass in that area. A lot of broken rubble and stuff, but I'm not exactly sure, and that's why we do this. We only know some of these targets. We know some of the history and some of the from going there and observing, but we don't know everything, and that's why we're doing these, to try to find out information that we don't know. The known knowns, things we know. The unknown knowns, things we don't know that we know. Then there are the known unknowns, things we know that we don't know. But then there are the unknown unknowns, things we don't know that we don't know. Okay, moving on to session number 3. Now this one is a control. I was actually able to approach somebody in person, and they also wish to remain anonymous. Okay, so they draw here, it's interesting, a fish, but if first up in the upper left here, you see it says, they saw first a big square box, an empty room. And to me, that's pretty much describing the inside of a dark bunker. Probably right on target with that one. And then this fish, which is interesting, it says gray with dark gray and silver. Silver outlines, silver highlights is how they explained it on the tail. And so almost like I picture a fish underwater or in a dark cavern, kind of. So when I think of a fish underwater, I think back to lake. Maybe this lake at the bottom of the bunker here, this pit filled with water. Or I also think of cliff water. So it's another element for water, another vote, a third vote for water here. This is the third time somebody's kind of mentioned water. Maybe there's fish down there that got into the flooded part of the bunker. I mean, my personal theory is that this bunker connects to the ocean somehow. And that's why the Navy came in here in 1970. In that year, they had a joint Naval Reserve and Navy SEALs exercise in this bunker. We will tell you more about this bunker because there's a lot, but for now we're still gathering info. So that would wrap it up for the first 3 envelopes that we've done. We have one additional envelope that we left out because only one submission came in. So we're going to let envelope number 4 roll over into another video.
Hi, this is Danielle, and I'd like to thank everybody as well. This is one of the best videos I have seen in terms of participation. I can't believe that so many people had so many similar views, so to speak, in the session. I'd like to give props to George A., anonymous family member. Please tell that person that was amazing. And if they don't know that they have a gift, they definitely have a gift, in my opinion, because that was incredibly impressive. Chris and Ola, your channel rocks, by the way. And thank you guys. I cannot believe you got what you did. That was beyond impressive, in my opinion, for just trying it. So thank you very much. Infinite Reality, husband and wife, you're always really wonderful to us in our channel. And thank your husband as well for what you guys, for watching and being a part of. You guys, no words for being on point. It's just beyond. And you guys, thank you for all the drawings you've come and done. There's just too many that are similar to what we were looking for. George A., obviously I thanked your anonymous family member, but also thanks to you. You also were awesome. DarkHour, DHP, dude, thank you. You kind of gave us this start off with when you came to Montauk with us. So thank you for coming and hope to see you sooner than later. And last but not least, our 2 anonymous submissions. They are amazing submissions, and you guys, thank you again. We're happy to keep any and all submissions anonymous. Anonymous, I want to thank you. You know who you are, who have been sending us pictures, and your remote views, spot on, crazy spot on. Please keep contributing to the channel. People like you are what keep us going. But anyway, for Montauk is Strange, Brian and I cannot thank you enough. We never thought doing this little video that it would turn into such awesomeness. So thank you, you guys, for making it possible. All right, namaste. Keep it very strange as always.